focus, if you look, you'll begin to see that everything has time in it. You see? Everything is somehow pervaded by this concept of time, this energetic concept of time, which is a divine, play. You do see it. You cannot. Nobody can refute it. In fact, no scientist. If you bring the scientists, they'll tell you that it is like that. That all these things that they study and they understand the things which a true seer understands spontaneously. Scientists can study and they can confirm, but they will confirm without the inner experience. It's like they confirm only in a mental way.
Yes.
They cannot be in the life of that truth.
Yes.
This is the difference. People, they study, they say, like all this world is a play of atomic, kind of thing. It's more energy than matter. Then matter is not real, because if you reduce it to the smallest thing, it is a movement. It's just an energy field that pulls certain things together and make them look like this. They understand that, but it doesn't necessarily touch them so deeply as to inform their daily life, how they move.
Yes.
You see? And but it is so important, I feel. Well, I don't just feel. I know it's important. It's important that we come to that understanding and conviction early in our introspections, because these conclusions, they're very deep reaching, and they begin to create the necessary alignment inside the being for much more deeper and vaster understanding into the mind of God. When I say understanding, I don't mean any kind of separate understanding. I'm talking about unity of understanding, where your understanding and being are the same thing. So as soon as your attention turns internally and is resting inside the heart of the source itself, be one with the source itself, then somehow these doors begin to open into all the doors are opening into the one space. All of them are bringing you into the one space. I call it the kingdom of God. And inside that kingdom, you intuitively know many things. You know them, but it's not like, say, they exist as separate things in themselves. They are just sort of like I look at your body, I see your hands, we see the distinction of the hands, but all of it is connected to the one body. The hair feels very different, from the lips, and the teeth is very different from from your knees, and your ears are different. Everything has the different things, but it's all the one. In the same way, every aspect of the universe is phenomenality, and then beyond this phenomenality, into the world of what you make, I don't know if you want to call it a world then, but into the sphere, the realm of intuitive wisdom, knowledge, all of that is all aspects of the one totality. And so all your experience is happening in totality. You're eating an orange, but that eating is taking place in totality. You see? You're talking to one person, it seemed like that. But that speaking, the speaker, the listener, the conversation is all the movement of one totality. Just like the movement of each wave is just inside the totality. You see? But there's a consciousness there, there's a life there. And that is just a little insight into really the functioning of of conscious perception inside what you may call the mind of sagehood, or of an awakened being. It just experiences in totality. Now, it's very difficult to explain to the mind what that means, because for people, mind itself is just so many rooms and so many different compartments and so on. But for the one who sees in totality, it is not like that at all. Science and geometry and fishing and are all the same. They're all existing on the same plane for me. Whether you talk about the science of astronomy and to do with deep sea diving and how to make a perfect egg, or how to construct a compost toilet, and sort of like how women think, it's all for me the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. You talk about in Satsang, we're talking about this and the intricacies of the psychological mind and so on like that, and then about the breath of God and the science of evolution and sort of like how to purify water, diets and dreams and aspirations, memory, your grandmother's 80th birthday, all of it's for me, it's all one, it's all the same thing. There's no difference, right? Between geometry, geography, biology, art, religious education, football, prostitution, chemistry, going to church, it's all the same. It's all the same thing. It's satsang, it's all the same. Like that, Because the mind perceives in totality, functions in a kind of totality. So when I was saying sometimes to people, don't isolate yourself into these little artificial bubbles where you are conversing with someone and you're locked into some submarine talking with them inside your little bubble. Be in the bigger listening, be in the bigger mind, in the bigger consciousness, so that the conversations can still happen, but you're still corresponding to the universe as a totality. You're not just inside, a little shoebox talking, about your little private life. You see? And what does it take? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what you can say. An openness, something happened, and immediately the mind widens into that consciousness and then loses its personhood and is functioning now as presence, not as person. And what did you have to do for that? Not really anything. No effort, nothing sweaty, just understanding and graciousness, because some people in their life is not being expressed as grace in any conscious way. Disgraceful, in fact. Those who criticize the manifold play of God and criticize other people's expression, criticize their religion or whatever it is, who goes into someone's house and criticize their furniture or whatever it is and say, look at their taste or whatever it is. All of this is just ungraciousness, which is also an expression of consciousness, because it is compelled to express the diversity of its, interrelated opposite and the extremes all the time. But within this very wide field, a wise one will find their way through this jungle and, not be bitten by any serpents. Or if you're bitten by any serpent, it turned out to be even strengthening for your journey. Everything, they turn to their advantage. And this is why I say that the life is so great. One person said life is horrible. I just got a letter from someone who is planning their own suicide. She just said very calmly that I've been following your YouTubes and stuff, and they've been very helpful for me, but my life is so, I have none of this, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have these things, I don't have any needs for them, and I just feel like I don't have a reason to be on the earth anymore. And so I've just told the people who I need to tell that I'm going away in a faraway retreat for a while, but I find I'm going to use it as an opportunity to finish my life. And so I wrote a letter to them and just say, often it is in such circumstances that the real reveal itself. And don't take it in your hands to act prematurely or think that somehow that killing the body, which is innocent, in a sense, is somehow a kind of solution to anything, and all these things. So people are severely deluded by their own, imagination and believing in their conditioning and their mind's projections and so on. Anyhow, it's enough said on that one. The significant thing is that you acknowledge this one total mind, one total being, that always is total in every aspect. When you understand that, you can go with your attention into some detail, into anything, but it's inside the totality, and you never feel that you exchange the totality. You don't the general seeing, the panoramic seeing is not lost because you're doing some microscopic focus for a moment. It's all happened inside the great one.
Yes.
It's all the activity within the infinite, or the activity of the infinite, you can say.
Yes.
You see that the whole universe is one living being, or one organic movement, and all the streams of apparent opposites are within the total, and with the one totality. If you can see that, not just understand it intellectually, but because you are with me, and I impart that understanding about the grace of it, and that it emerges from the love, from the unity of the God Self, of the purity of awareness, and then somehow you are merging in that understanding. You merge in that understanding, and so you stop perceiving in some fragmentary, fractured kind of perception. And I don't know anything greater than that to say to anybody. If people could begin to perceive in that kind of total way, and then I feel that major wars would be pretty much become redundant. They'll become dinosaurs in the human kingdom. Human beings will not feel so threatened, personally threatened, and so they can work in a more corporate mind, in a greater mind, a kind of to organize. They can organize. Good morning, darling. They could organize, and they would think in sort of global interest, what benefits everybody, not just what benefit the person, but what benefits the totality in a beautiful way, because you still retain a sense of the beauty of individuality, you see, because that is not in conflict with the truth. You see, things don't often all look alike to be one. They can look diversely different on the surface, but the oneness is in the understanding, and it's the inner reality of them, and the inner understanding of them is that they are the one, but it's not merely an intellectual or mental understanding. It happens in the heart. That's why I say when the understanding happens in the heart, not just in the mind. Very often for many scientists, not all of them, but some scientists have got a very spiritual approach. When understanding happens, it happens in the heart. But for many of them, understanding happens in the mind.
Yes.
So it has no life, really. They write theses and stuff like this about them and stuff. But they become the knowledge, and the knowledge become them. That is. So, so I would say that conflicts of that kind of habitual conflicts of the proportion and the magnitude that we're seeing today, they would become redundant. Because everyone, you become like, look at the simple ant, an ant. They work as a community. They don't go to any training school and seminars to discuss about unity. They just work as one. They work collectively, to make one movement, one thing, one action. But they are a tribe, of course, because they fight with other tribes. No? But in the dynamic expression of consciousness, there has to be these opposites. Otherwise, the manifestation cannot work. The manifestation cannot work without opposites. But opposites don't necessarily mean opposition. Opposites mean somehow that those energies are needed, that tension, that conflict, or that tension is needed to generate the imagery of the manifest world.
Yes.
But if underneath it is the understanding in the heart, that the two functions together, just like matter and spirit or something. You see, it's like awareness is not in conflict with the manifest world.
Yes.
It is the womb of the manifest world. So people say it's either, it's all non-dual, it's nothing dual. You don't understand it. You have made non-duality into only a sort of sterile concept. It's not a living thing for you. To be a living thing, non-duality, I must acknowledge that duality is an expression of non-duality. You can't say there's only non-duality. So these people are very dried up. They're not alive in the truth. You see, because the same people say there's no duality. You know, they are attacking their bank managers about a mistake in their bank account. They are very much in their duality in their usual life. Very rare you find somebody who, I don't know who a true non-dualist is, according to this present Western projected perspective. I don't think it is like that. Non-duality, in its truthfulness, never really has a reality like how it's being portrayed by sometimes this neo-Advaitist, for instance, expression, because it's not alive, it's not true, it's just a kind of it's just theoretical, it's just mental. It has no way to integrate with life as it is perceived, even though we know that we can say that the life is fundamentally the way it is perceived in the human mind is illusory. No? Even though we can accept that, but there's nothing that you can accept to say that the non-duality in its sterile expression is any reality at all. I mean, it works with duality. Even the concept of non-duality takes its reference from duality. So these things, I just think we should just get over it. There are many people who are very much holding on to these things because they're basically afraid, and they found another kind of this kind of non-duality, what I'd call groove. For me, it is still a very tribal way of looking at things. Like, there's only this, there's nothing else. Well, it is true. There's only this, there's nothing else, but it is manifesting and expressing as duality. There's only ever the one. And if people were genuine, all the different ways of expressing life, an intelligent person can see it's all aspects of the one. You understand? If we were genuine in our heart. But because sometimes the mind itself does not want, is not seeking harmony of seeing. It's looking more for fame. It's looking more to be original. It's looking more to separate itself as though it has a particular perspective. But if you are genuinely someone who looks from pure intelligence and from pure heart, you will see that you're all expressing different views, but all of them are aspects of the one. It's okay. It's okay. Stop fighting with each other. You just have a different way of looking, and your way of looking now, I will tell you in a short time, you're going to change your view. Not just by choice, but compelled by the universe, because all that you're expressing is compelled by the universal streams, that it's not going to last for very long. It will change. That's not where the reality is. The reality is in the unmanifest, and in that which you cannot see and measure by any kind of instrument, except the pure understanding that arises out of the awareness self. So this is what I'm looking at. I see people arguing, and if they stop for a moment and put their attention back in their heart, they see, what are we arguing about? I mean, we are talking about the same one. You say Allah, I say Jehovah, another one say Jah, another one say Yahweh, another one say, Ishwara, another one say Krishna. Oh, you want to say Jesus Christ, if you want to say it's, Ra, if you want to say it's whatever. But it's all the same. It is, you're referring to the same thing, but you're stuck in your conditioning, you're stuck in your mold. And you have to outgrow this mold. This is what I mean by jumping over the moon. The moon is the mind that has all these different apparent differences, and they're all apparent differences arising in the one and out of the one. Then who cannot see this? So the fact is that you can see it, but because the people themselves who are fighting against each other are dedicated to their ignorance, that their perspective is the right one. It's the same people who say like Chinese food is the best food in the world. There's no competition. Another one says, how can you say that? Italian food is the best food. Everybody know that. Another one said, no, what you talk about? African food is the best food in the world. What are you talking about? And they're all fighting. They said, listen, you know what? The fact is that we all have to eat, don't we? And you grew up with fish and chips. Enjoy your fish and chips. I grew up with pasta. I like pasta. Okay? Another one say, no, but I like noodles. But actually, that's pasta also. You understand? Okay? Another one say, I like this thing. I said, but actually, guys, it's just food. And according to our conditioning, we each enjoy the kind of food that we're used to. You cannot say because you're used to it is the best. That is ignorance. So this is all it is, actually. This is why I say when you look at all the wars, all the fights, all the conflicts, all the hatreds, they are just out of the imagination of human beings. And in fact, the killings and the life and the salvations are all also imagined, all of them. The whole damn thing. It's all imagination. And the Advaitis and the non-duality and the dual, they're all imagination. It's all imagination.
But
it's all that. There's only the one.
But when you say imagination, do you actually mean because it's and at the other end it's here.
Yes, in dream you can also say you have things and you have an argument with somebody in a dream and you feel real pain. You have a discussion, you have an argument with your boyfriend or with your wife or your children, and they insult you and you feel real pain, you cry real tears in your dream. But when you wake up and you see the person who you were arguing with in your dream, you cannot say, hey, what were you talking about? To talk to me like this. And tell you what you're talking about. Last night when we were walking, when we went to Buckingham Palace, what are you talking about? I've never been to Buckingham Palace. But in my dream, you would not say that. But in the waking state, you say, oh, no, that was a dream. Nobody, I think some people will do. They will still have a very strong sense of reality about their dream. I know one man I spoke about him before. He had his dream and he became very obsessed. He's married, he has children, but he became very obsessed with a woman from his village back in Ethiopia. Okay? They came in his dream and he felt they're meant to be together. Okay? He woke up, his family is here and everything like that, but he couldn't get the obsession out of his mind. And he worked hard and went back to Ethiopia, right? And married this woman illegally there. And then after a while, he just saw that it's not went to work. It's all crazy stuff. He was completely, because something like this. People do this. They don't know the difference at all. And then, of course, in the waking state, everybody believes the waking state. Everybody believes the waking state, that this is the reality also. So what is the proof of reality? We have to then go back to redefine these terms. What is reality? What is non-reality? What is illusion? What's reality? So that we see that we're on the same page, what we talk about. What is reality? You can say because you can touch something and feel it, you have the evidence of your senses, that's sufficient proof for you. But you had that also in dream. It could be like this. And you say, now I can feel this thing, so that means it's here. I can see this, so that means it's there. Yes, because both this thing and the one feeling it is in the same space.
Mooji, when you say this, what it comes to mind is when I'm sleeping and dreaming, I have a strong sense of who is dreaming in that moment. And right now, for example, the acknowledgement of who is dreaming this dream awake is not so strong. So it's like it's hard to believe that it's a dream, because there is not really or it's very oscillating.
I think what happens is also that the dreams that we have in the night have their base in the waking state. A lot, the waking state, and it's the subconscious responses to the waking state also. So they feel a bit more distance inside them. Waking state is what we're very accustomed to. The consciousness uses the waking state to fall asleep or to wake up, actually, in the waking state. But because globally we all succumb to the same, what you may say, conditioning, in believing primarily that we are the body, that we are this body. And this belief in this body is very, very strong glue for the consciousness. Thereupon, once this belief takes hold, other beliefs can then be added onto that primary belief. That I am this body, I am a woman, I'm a man, I am so many years old, and so on. And the consciousness embraces these notions, which, if we look into the notions that constitute the sense of who you are, you see that they're very flimsy, in fact. You see? So if our identity is shaped upon this thing that I've got a male body, I'm a man, it means I'm a man. Men do this type of thing, women do this type of thing. Okay? That's a learning, that is a concept. Okay? There are some biological realities, because the way in which the vital force behave in a female body, it behaves different. The consciousness creates these different forms in order to have energetic correspondence between them, like that as well too. So there are some, I would say, biological, physiological realities within the dream, you say, or you can say consistencies, or you cannot say totality, you have to say generalities about men and women, because the consciousness shows that no aspect of its manifestation is reliable and consistent. It can change. It can change. Anything at all inside the game can change. And I like that, because reason why I perceive this is that if it doesn't change, then human beings will find one thing to say, this is absolute. Mm-hmm. And once it finds one thing it believes is absolute, it will try and prove everything to be absolute through that. Because if one thing in the manifest world, in the elemental world, is absolute, then therefore everything else must also be absolute. You see what I'm saying? It must be. If one element is absolute, then all the other elements and everything touched by this element is also absolute. Nobody has been able to prove that anything in the waking state is absolute. You see? And where would we judge it against? What would we judge it against? What would we be able to use to compare what is absolute from what is relative? You see? Something must already be inside us, a capacity to look and to discern that this thing, it appears like this for now, and then it goes through some kind of change. Also, the one who's reading the change is himself not consistent. So that on a certain day, his own moods will affect the reading. Like they've done some tests to show that our attitude to water affects how the water behave also. Just how you think, that the water start to behave according to your thinking. Science have done this also. Look. So that everything is affected by the thought stream of everything else somehow. Then who is going to nail this down? You see, just your thinking. You're thinking about the air, you're thinking about your body, affects even the chemistry, the biological and physiological processes are affected by thought. Science are catching up with what the seers of life have already said, maybe sometimes thousands of years ago. They are confirming that even in a scientific way, they're seeing that these things are determined also. You see? So for me, I'm not surprised. I'm happy that because so many people believe in science, so the science is explained to them that the tangible world they see is actually just a movement of energy. And even though they may hear this and they believe and accept it, it doesn't affect them in their physiological functioning. It doesn't affect them in their experience of life. They just kind of that's like in another compartment in their mind, but their social being still functions like they are this body and so on. You see, it's not deep enough inside them to affect change manifesting in their dynamic expression. It's not integrated knowledge. It's just a kind of knowledge, what I would call speculative. No, I wouldn't say even speculative, because they wouldn't say it's any more speculative. They'll say it's factual. But the factual and the actual are not corresponding. All these things, even my talking about it, it's all inside. It's all inside the big dream. It's all inside the big dream, all of it. And I play inside this dream. You know, because it's fun inside the dream. It's fun to understand these things. But I'm understanding. Not everything I'm understanding is inside the dream. My understanding is not in the dream. My understanding comes from myself, or from the self. It is the self. But it understands how the dream works, because the dream was arising out of the self. It's not the dream that looks upon the self, it's the self that sees the dream, you know. The world only gains the capacity, the world meaning the psychological, emotional intelligence in the world, can only begin to grasp the fundamental reality when its eyes are open and its heart is open. Then the power that is supporting it becomes recognized in it. Otherwise, it doesn't see. Now we are breathing. How do you breathe? Nobody knows. They give science about it now, but nobody is breathing. Nobody has a job to breathe. The breathing is happening. You know, what compels the organ to go to work like that? Keep doing that. I mean, who is doing it? Who is breathing? Who is moving the chest? Who is doing it? Nobody is doing it. Some power is doing it. It's causing the breathing to happen, the heart to pump, the blood to flow, you know, the thoughts to arise, the power to design them. It's all happening. Including the idea that there's somebody have to do something to make it happen. It's also happening in the great spontaneous happening. But unless you have that intuitive initiation in the heart, you can't really enjoy what I'm speaking. I don't know if people enjoy it. You enjoy it when you see the complete effortlessness of it. Only then you can enjoy it. And then when you enjoy something, it's easy to venerate the Supreme Lord, to give thanks and praise the Supreme Lord. But if you don't enjoy it, it all falls back onto you, the person. You say, oh, but what can I do? And, oh, it's too much, you know, it's freaking me out. And you see like this, because you're taking responsibility for even the perception of it. But even the perceiving and the understanding of it, there's nobody doing it. It's just arising out of the intelligence of the being. And one knows that oneself is the intelligent being. The world can be divided into two. Those who know this and those who don't. And those who know it and those who don't. You either know this inside and you don't. But even, you know, for me, those who know it and those who don't, I can also put them all again into the great dream. It's all inside the great dream. I don't have any limit in this way, in the ways of the heart, because there are no boundaries I can reach there. And the mind, almost like there's no boundaries except the boundary of sleep, beyond which the mind can't go. I'm there, he gets neutralized. But nothing can neutralize the awareness. You can say the mind is infinite, but you know, while it's functioning in what you may call the waking state and the dreaming state, but in deep sleep, He's not infinite at all. He doesn't exist. So everything in the world, in the manifest world, is part-time. It's only for part of the time. The concept of 24 hours, nothing experiences 24 hours. I don't know who would listen to a talk like this and feel the delight that I feel in my heart. Just, surfing on that. I'm not even attached to it. It's just fun, actually. In some cases, the beings, they will hear these things and then feel the joy that just emanate out of it. Begin to see that the world is not hard work. For one, for a certain one, the world is not hard work. It's not trouble. Little trouble for anybody who because even if I feel that you are beyond the body in some way, the body still has a certain reality. It still has this little slice of the cake inside it. It still has some little energetic, kind of a little voice to say about things. The body has a voice to say about things. It creates some little noise or something like that, and you have to accept that.
Lord, you are the only one that has ever been and ever will be. Your light is shining as us every moment of this life. Shiva, Shiva, Shambho, Mahadeva, Shambho, Shiva, Shiva, Shambho.